Hello, darlings. It's me, Claudia Colby, and welcome to my character profile.
No, I'm Claudia Colby, darling.
We can't both be Claudia. I think it's going to take a long time to get through the entire profile if we
I love Claudia.
talk slowly.
Such a rich, luscious voice.
Such a rich, just end there. So rich. So rich and wealthy. You can tell by her hair.
Welcome to the Coronation Street character profile of Claudia Colby, played by Rula Lenska, who is sadly no longer in the show.
I know.
The bomb that was dropped on us last week. Presumably.
Well,
I mean, I don't know even whether Coronation Street's come out officially and said, cheers, Rula.
No, she certainly hasn't said thanks for the cash, guys.
Just a drop in the ocean, darling, of the Lenska fortunes.
It's going to help me pay off my window washing bill for my fifth castle.
Yeah, so I think we can only assume that she's gone, and the reports are that she's gone. It's very sad because it came out of nowhere. And when she returned to the show a couple of years ago, I thought it was heralding a brand new era of Rula's reign.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, what's she have? 2-3 years, I suppose. I can't remember how long she's been back. Two, maybe.
When we saw her before it was announced.
Yes, that was amazing.
We went to Manchester and we had to keep it secret because as we already said, spoiler-free podcast. We didn't mention that we saw her in the distance, and she came up and we're like, really?
We've told this story on the podcast before.
I know,
I
don't care.
It's because it's Rula Lenska. Yeah, we were waiting outside the back gate, and then we saw this fabulous, massive red hair,
flame-haired beauty
coming through the car park and out the back gate.
Navigating her suitcase out of the security gate, probably full of silk scarves and golden bangles.
I think that's Rula Lenska.
It might be Rula Lenska, but I didn't know she was back in the show.
I think we did know that she was back in the show. I think maybe I knew she was back in the show. I can't remember now, but yeah, we couldn't talk about it on the podcast until for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks or so until she actually did appear. But I think we probably let people on social media know. That was lovely, wasn't it?
Oh, she's magnificent.
And again, another story we've told on the podcast time and time again, but not your family's first encounter.
Oh, we've said this story
with
too.
The Polish countess. She
landed in a hot air balloon. I mean, what a Rula Lenska story. She landed we had the hot air balloon festival in Southampton, which sadly does no longer exist anymore because of the airport. But a load of hot air balloons landed on the Veracity ground, which is like a big common grass area right next to our house. And she just landed in a balloon, and Mum and Dad ran out to help everybody get their balloons off the ground, and she didn't notice he was in the basket. And she was like, "Thank you, darling." Just imagine. She must have been horrified. Where on earth did I land, darling? The commoners are running here. What are they going to do? I think they're going to steal the basket.
I tried to avoid Southampton Common when I landed. I thought that this place would be much lovelier.
Southampton Common is where we held the festival, so shut your mouth.
Anyway, let's talk Claudia, because I'm going to miss her. I hope she comes back. The door has been left open at least.
I know.
For when Stillwaters is closed down or something.
Her and Lewis add a touch of class to the show.
I know. And they're both gone. There's nobody quite like Claudia on Coronation Street. And there's been so few, toffs on Corrie.
I just love a toff on Corrie. They're one of my favourite character types.
We're loving Annie Walker at the moment, aren't we?
It makes me feel at home, you see. So they're my people, obviously. I watch them and Arias reminds me of more boarding school, darling.
See, Annie Walker really, really did look down her nose at people, didn't she? And she knew that she was better than everybody.
She knew she was better.
In her own, there was no doubt in her mind that she was better than them. But I don't think that Claudia is quite the same as that. She knows that she's better off and everything. But
yeah, that's true.
I don't think that she's not snobbish. She just relishes in the fact that brings a touch of class to the cobbles.
There's a difference between thinking that you're better off than people and thinking that you're better than people.
Yes.
And I think Claudia, although she can be snobby at times, sometimes it's fairly well justified.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, so I went onto Corrie to try and find some of the stats of Claudia, and I couldn't find particularly very much. She was born on the 15th of April. I don't think we've actually got a birth year for Claudia.
Well, of course not. She's a lady.
Never reveals her age. But she first made her appearance on Coronation Street on the 18th of December 2009. So it's been over 10 years that she's been on the street, although it's obviously very on and off throughout that period. And then her last appearance, as far as we know, was on the 24th of April 2020, but fingers crossed for a return at some point. She made 138 appearances in total on Coronation Street. I know, it seems like nothing, does it?
Do you know how to say her real name, Michael?
No. Well, here's fact number one that some of you may not know about Rula Lanska. That's not her real name. She's a Polish countess, as I alluded to earlier.
Can you imagine Rula Lenska down the Polish shop buying some sausages and some packet soup?
There's a whole thing about the family on Wikipedia, and they've got a coat of arms and everything.
Everyone's got a coat of arms.
They've got a Wikipedia page with their coat of arms.
I can make a Wikipedia page about my family. Very scandalous. Everyone would love it.
Well, do you want to have a go at saying what Rula's actual name is?
I'm no good at... It's like, I don't even know how would you say that? You know how to read these strange...
Well, there are a variety of accents and dots and crossings out.
Rosa Maria Leopoldina Lubenska.
Yeah, exactly like that. Rosa Maria Leopoldina Lubenska is Rula's real name, so it's no wonder that when she went to go into the world of showbiz, in the English-speaking world, she shortened it or chose a new one. Where did she
get the name Rula from?
I don't know. I mean, is Rula actually a name, or did she make it up?
I'm ignorant.
All I know is, do you remember? I think it was. Who was that actress that died a few weeks ago? The other posh totty, Honor Blackman, because she was in Coronation Street for a little bit as well, wasn't she? And her character was called Rula. And I'm only kind of guessing that it's because she was a similar kind of person.
It's an Arabic name.
Oh.
From Syria.
I don't know.
Or it could be Latin and means the governess.
Oh, well, that's
or it could
perfect.
mean commander. Or it could be that people are really, really into baby names, just make crap up on the internet.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's just her favourite piece of stationery in a pencil case.
Oh, her sister, Protractor Lenska.
That sounds like Concepta, doesn't it? Protractor Riley. Anyway, so before Coronation Street, obviously, she'd had a long and illustrious career in showbiz. She'd been in TV and film for nearly 40 years before even setting foot on the cobbles.
The thing is about us Brits is that if you've got a posh voice, you can pretty much convince us anything. Like, she went into a casting room, she was like, "Hi, darlings, I don't know if you remember, but you've already cast me in this role, so I'll just take the contract and sign it now."
That's probably how Lummer's got her role as well, isn't it?
"Hi, it's me, Celebrity Lummers." You just get the job half the time. It's a good 50-50 gamble.
We want to try that next time we go there. "Hi, Ian."
"Hi, I'm sorry you're late for our appointment, Ian."
So she'd made her TV debut in 1971 on a programme called The Doctors, and then 1976 there was a show called Rock Follies, which is what kind of made her get her big break, I suppose. Across the pond, she became more famous in the US after starring in a series of VO5 ads.
Is that shampoo? Or is it
I was
diesel?
hoping that you'd
is it petrol?
It's a hair thing. I think you're right. Apparently, there was something I read on the Wikipedia page that there was this American chat show host that made fun of her just because that's all she was known for or something. I don't know, but she then carried on.
Excuse me, making fun of a woman for having fabulous hair? That doesn't sound like a joke to me. That sounds like a compliment.
No, making fun of her because she's only famous for being in hair ads.
So what? Get paid, don't you? Same as anyone else?
She was then in loads of other TV shows.
I'd only be allowed to be in a hair advert if I was the before. So I'm certainly not going to criticise.
She was in a couple of episodes of Doctor Who. She was in Minder. In 2002, she was in 4 episodes of EastEnders. Would you believe?
Can't believe it.
And there was a show of Cluedo in 1991 where she played Mrs. Peacock.
Mrs. Peacock?
Indeed. And
I've never played as
not
Mrs.
talking about
Peacock.
Maxine.
I'm always Miss Scarlet.
She also, thanks to her caramel-like voice, a voiceover and presenter for travel programmes. I knew just imagine, like, "I wish you were here, darling." And she recorded. Do you think
that she writes the darlings in, or do you think they just it's just punctuation as far as she's concerned?
She had audiobooks and starred in a number of West End shows where she played a variety of posh totty characters. I can only imagine.
With fabulous hair. Now, in the UK, she blotted her copybook somewhat, not as quite as badly as George Galloway, but still fairly significantly, when she went into the celebrity Big Brother house in 2006. And some people I know still have not forgiven her and George for their antics.
See, we didn't watch this series of Celebrity Big Brother.
Cringeworthy and infamous, which involved her feeding... Was he an MP at the time, or did he become one later? He's a politician. And she fed him milk because he thought he was a cat or something along those lines, and she was petting his head and
playing up to it, yeah.
And sort of going, there you go, darling, here's some milk. Very, very cringeworthy, but who has not made a tit of themselves on CBB? Because that's the whole point of the show.
Exactly.
And also, what else happened in CBB over the years?
Well, she's not the only Coronation Street star to
showed herself up.
Yes, let's just put it that way.
Plenty of antics have happened in Big Brother over the years. It's probably one of the most famous, so therefore one of the most successful stunts.
Yeah, that's probably what got her the job on Coronation Street.
She probably just purred down the phone.
You're looking for a new cat to be on the opening sequence.
I know where you can get one.
Well, we have said it's about time that they updated. Actually, this 2006 is before the current title sequences, so they're probably thinking about it.
So you want them to update for the 60th anniversary the Coronation Street intro sequence with George Galloway
just crashing through the ginnel,
squatting on a fence as Rula Lenska holds up a tin of cat food.
Why not?
George, come down, darling.
So let's talk about Claudia's history on the show. When she came into the show in 2009, at that point, or before that point, through her hairdressing endeavours, she'd become friends with Audrey. They had a kind of a friendly rivalry kind of relationship all throughout the years, didn't they? Which I absolutely loved. And her salon was called Perm Suspect, which is another amazing name. I do love a good pun name for a business on Coronation Street, and that one is divine.
I also like the fact that Audrey and Claude, and I also call them... Claude. I also like the shipping name Audrey.
Yes.
And I think we should, if we have another cat, cover her we should call it Audrey. Sorry, Abby.
So her first appearance was at the Weatherfield Council Christmas Do in 2009, where she was escorted by Lewis Archer. So there's always those two names, Claudia and Lewis, were always bound together, weren't they? They often had stories together.
Two little toffs they were.
Yeah, totally. And Audrey meets up with her friend / rival. Is pretty shocked that she's got an escort, but Claudia assures her that there's no hanky-panky.
Claudia
just for appearances.
Views Lewis in the same way that she would do a nice pair of shoes. You have to have all the accessories.
I don't think over the years Claudia had very many proper boyfriends or suitors, didn't
I think she's a very self-sufficient woman.
It was probably quite intimidating as well.
Yeah.
Ken just saw her as the next rung on the ladder.
I think she really genuinely is very self-sufficient and views men as an accessory, but not something integral to her happiness. I think she's,
The reason that Ken probably left number one to go to Still Waters is there's so many notches on his bedpost, it probably just made the bed collapse.
Yeah, it was just like...
it's the final straw.
Just, caved in on itself.
And hopefully he'll get a new one now. He's back in the master bedroom.
He needs to get himself an iron wrought one.
Oh, yeah.
He just soldered something in. Well, you just imagine in the middle of the night, what's that? Well, Ken is just
got another bird home.
Just got the buzzsaw out to put another notch on an old iron bed frame.
2010, Audrey. This was, I think, still Claudia was in and out of it. Especially towards the beginning of the year, at least.
A drug addict.
What?
In and out of the show, not in and out of it, as in consciousness. No.
So they went to a dinner dance together. I expect Rula just enjoyed the chance to dress up and go to fancy do's.
Can you just imagine her accepting the role? Yes, darling, just to check though, it's catered right. I'm not going to be stealing bread rolls like Shelley King.
Controversial, Gemma.
That's a callback.
An accusation.
If you don't know what that, you need to go back quite a few years.
So they went to this dinner dance together where they saw Lewis with Rita. So he's been working his way through all the elderly women of the street, basically.
He's been working his way through Corripedia.
Yeah. So he, if he's been going through in alphabetical order, or roughly, he's had quite a few, hasn't he? He started at the beginning of the alphabet, and by the beginning of 2010, he's already towards the end. So anyway, Audrey admits to Claudia that she had also been hiring Lewis and has fallen for him.
Oh dear.
Well, who could resist those charms? Claudia tries to make Audrey see that he's just putting on the charms, like you're just a job to him, Aud. But Audrey doesn't believe her. She thinks that it's true love she's found. First true man that she could...
what?
The first man that she could trust in and fall in love with after poor Alfie. And however, Audrey is made to eat her words after he abandons her and goes to Greece. So, score one for Claudia.
I wouldn't be surprised if Claudia is really a Polish countess. Not in the show, obviously, but
We know so little about her backstory.
I know. I still maintain that she was.
It's there. There's something.
There's troubled youth there, and I think she got pregnant when she was young. Anyway.
Anyway, go on.
If he's gone off to Greece, I can just imagine that Lewis is secretly a Greek prince.
Yes.
Why not? Phil was. Why not him?
So Audrey later in the year donates a pedicure and manicure to the Rovers raffle, which Claudia spectacularly outdoes by offering a luxury salon treatment. So that puts Audrey's nose right at her joint, even more so when Audrey ends up winning the luxury salon transplant treatment at Claudia's place. So she has to grin and bear that, I think. Around this time as well, I was interested to see on Corripedia, there were rumours that Claudia was going to be taking over as landlady of the Rovers Return, because this was when Bev Callard was going off on one of her breaks, and the Rovers needed a new landlady at the helm, and in the press it said that it would be Claudia rather, and Phil Collinson, the producer at the time, had to deny this. But just imagine that.
Well,
Claudia as
it would have been better than some of the than beige pants, wouldn't it?
It would have been better than Stella, I have to agree. I think that she'd have been awesome. I don't know whether it would have turned into too much like a let's try and make it Annie Walker again, Annie Walker Mark 2, or rather Annie Walker Mark 3 after Lillian Spencer.
No, because the thing about Claudia is she's not putting on a front, is she? Like Annie. But she literally is just being herself, which is just posh as hell.
I think that would have been... I'd have liked to have seen that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Touch of class back to the Rovers.
How dare you? We've got a touch of class in the Rovers.
There's always a chance for a return story if Johnny and Jenny decide to hang up the...
She needs to marry into the Newton and Ridley family and make Henry her
Exactly.
nephew.
This is what we said in the podcast last week, didn't we?
Yes.
Henry, Claudia's new toy boy. Writes itself. Come on, Corrie.
Oh my God.
Take the bait. 2011, Gemma. What did Claudia get up to?
Didn't you... Oh yeah.
I finished
2011, she starts dating widower Mark Selby. He starts cancelling their dates and she thinks that he is having an affair. So Aud and Claude, it's like a detective show on daytime ITV. They have a stakeout at his house and they see a woman leaving one night. They confront him the next day and Mark goes, "Oh, it was my sister." And then later on, Audrey discovers Mark is a transvestite, which is the terminology that was used in the time at on the show.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't call him that now. I wouldn't have thought.
Don't you?
Well, there's different terminology used these days, but
he was a cross-dresser, wasn't he?
I'm not going to get into that now. It's not about. We're not talking about that now. But that's how he described himself, I think. And unlike Audrey, Claudia is not very understanding about.
No, she thinks that she's been made a mug of, basically. Yeah. I found that story fascinating, and I know a lot of people at the time say it was a bit of a weird one, and, having the man dress up as a woman and everything, and it was all a bit farcical. I think that they did it really, really sensitively.
I do as well.
I was just a little bit gutted at the end, how I think it ended quite quickly and abruptly. I remember Audrey, I think, revealing to somebody about Mark before he was ready for it to be made public knowledge, and he comes into the Rovers and say it's over between us, and then then he was off and we didn't see him again.
Humiliated because it was his secret to keep or not as he saw fit.
And he trusted Audrey.
Yeah.
And Claudia, I guess.
I did like Mark. I thought that it was a very complicated story, and as you said, it was a bit more sensitively done than some of the previous times on Coronation Street who'd had.
Well, it was no Ida Fag, was it?
As you say, cross-dressing. Well, also, didn't Steve end up with a...
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he?
There was some very, very
on holidays.
I mean, they really did a massively great job with Hayley, which is to say they just treated her as a woman. Yeah,
well, that was different anyway, wasn't it? Because that was about transsexual rather than transvestite.
I know, but I understand there's a difference.
I thought it was a great story, and it's nice to see... I like a bit of romance between the elder characters.
Okay.
And I thought they were quite well suited to each other. I was just a bit disappointed, but even though it was understandable, Claudia's reaction at the end. I mean, Audrey was always the main character and Claudia was the bit part, so if anyone was going to be not understanding of it, I suppose it would be Claudia. But I suppose it's a natural reaction if you find out that somebody you've been dating has got this massive... and, you know, a massive secret that doesn't follow societal norms, I suppose. It's a difficult one to accept.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Anyway, that was the end of Claudia for a little bit. She wanted to leave Coronation Street to focus on theatre for a bit, but the door was left open for her, the stage door, and which is the same as now. She was mentioned quite a bit on and off in the intervening years between 2011 and 2018. So it was almost like, well, it's like Audrey was still her friends and she would go off to see her. And even though they had a bit of even though when she left after the Mark debacle, Claudia declared her and Audrey's friendship was over, it seems they made up somehow in the meantime.
I would just call them frenemies.
Yeah, it was great. In 2012, Rita went to Perm Suspect instead of Audrey's one time because I think Audrey's was fully booked, so Audrey was hurt by that, so I think she was probably not friends with Claudia at that point. But then in 2015, Audrey gets drunk with Claudia on her 75th birthday, friends again, and then in 2018, Audrey and Claudia went on a course for the future of hairdressing in the digital age.
I don't think it's going to be much different, is it? You can't cut hair digitally, can you?
No, you need
as we're all discovering.
Yeah, if I could, if somebody's invented that, they'd be onto a winner right now, wouldn't they? I think
they would be.
I'm still going alright at the moment.
2018, Claudia returns to the street to boast about expanding her business, and she's going to open a new shop, and she wants Maria to run it.
I thought it was quite cool that, like, in her later years, she's still sort of hell bent on, you know, expanding the Perm Suspect empire. Like most people would be ready to rest on their laurels.
When you reach 75, nobody told Claudia. Claudia offers to invest. Carla offers to invest in the business for Maria's sake, but she doesn't go on with Claudia. And eventually Rita puts some money in, because I think that Claudia's like, you can work here, you can be in charge of it, but you need to give me money.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be a co-investor. And Maria didn't have any money, and can't remember what Carla was paying for it, but it was did something wrong, didn't she? Or
this was after the whole Carla being out of the factory and everything, wasn't it? And she was back again after going away, and
I don't know.
She needed a kidney.
Don't know. Claudia finds that Audrey is dating Lewis again. Very shocked about that. Then Ken starts to write this book about.
That was funny.
Like a love story.
Was it a book or was it a series of short stories?
It was in the newspaper. It was in the paper. It was serialised, and it was about a hairdresser. And Claudia decides to help him with his research by telling him all about Audrey's scandalous past. So she's kind of gossiping to Ken, who just writes it all down.
And I don't think Ken knew that it was Audrey that she was saying about.
I think he thought it was Claudia.
Maybe.
I don't know, but it was about Audrey. And they start a secret relationship.
This was quite controversial at the time, wasn't it? Because this was only 3 years after Deirdre had died, and already there had been the possibility of Ken and Audrey getting together before this as well. There were
strong hint that it would be Ken and Audrey.
Yeah, that just kind of
Went
vanished,
nowhere.
really, didn't it? It went nowhere. So it was quite surprising that they decided to try and get it off the ground again, but with Ken and Claudia this time. Who do you think he was most suited to? And the answer can be neither to that
I
one.
don't know. I think he was better suited to Claudia, and I don't think that him and Audrey, they just feel like there's no chemistry. They're just friends to me.
Well, I kind of get that with Ken and Claudia, to be honest. And although I maybe would have been happy for them to have settled down and been a new long-term couple in Coronation Street together, they just didn't feel quite right. And Ken did have ideas above his station, and he wanted to get out of the working class street that he spent the whole of his life in. But
I do think Claudia could have done better.
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel that they loved each other. I got the sense that they grew to be fond of each other, but when they decided to move into Stillwaters together early this year, I was thinking that it just doesn't feel like they're ready for this. And it was the same. Was it? I can't remember whether it was that.
When you're 80 or whatever,
I suppose
old, you've got to move a bit more quickly, haven't you?
That's true.
You don't have all the time in the world to.
And sometimes it is just about companionship as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although we know what Ken's like.
You could get a
dog.
dog.
Randy bugger.
Just get another dog. Not for that though. Don't be gross. She announces one of her new shops is going to be in Victoria Street, and Audrey's worrying because her clients are going to start to flock to Claudia's. This was all about quite a swanky boudoir.
She was going to have a fancy salon, wasn't she? With was it going to be that was the one that Maria was going to run, I think.
Yeah.
And they quite often they would show sketches. They show sketches or them looking at sketches, and we heard a lot about here's how the development's going on in my salon, but we never get to see any of it.
Saying like, I hope we get to see a set for it.
Yeah, and then it never came to fruition, did it?
Well, we kept thinking how they're going to get out of opening this. They're going to burn it down or something. So Claudia nominates Audrey for the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Northwest Regional Stylist Awards to wind her up, because basically it's like, Lifetime Achievement, like it's the end of your career now.
Yeah, it's the awards to celebrate the fact that you've passed it.
You're past it, yeah. I think Audrey takes it in the spirit it was intended, but tries to stage her up as well, and throws a bunch of flowers in her face to say thank you.
That was a classic Audrey scene.
Really,
there.
Really funny.
And the mic drop at the end. Love that. They both played it so well. And that had a scene with had Emma fawning over Ken's hair. I think was David there as well, snickering as Claudia gets a face full of flowers. That was a great old scene. That one was, and just it really showed the relationship between Audrey and Claudia. As you said, the frenemies.
Yeah.
Chemistry that they had.
Maria drops out of the deal with Claudia because she realises that it's not really fair to Audrey, and she should be loyal to her because of how much she's done for her career. Indeed.
Now, throughout all of this, in the second half of 2018, that was when Lewis Archer was back on the cobbles again, and because he started going out with Audrey, didn't he, for that brief time? He was just in it so little when he was back. I don't know whether his and Claudia's paths crossed too much, but I imagine Claudia was telling Audrey, what the hell are you doing going back out with him again? But alas, it didn't last for long, that love, did it?
He expired.
He did, didn't he? Was it New Year's Day 2019? Audrey goes up to that hotel room because she thinks that he's planning to do a bunk because she's found notes in his diary about
to go
going off somewhere.
And he was going to go on a
well, everyone was telling her, look, he's trying to...
He's plotting.
Yeah, but she goes up there and finds him with a ring. So she and Claudia kind of co-organised this funeral, and that led to another amazing scene. And I would say underrated.
I was going to say
comedy Claudia and Audrey scene. Everybody remembers the Northwest Styling Awards and the mic drop moment, but I absolutely loved Lewis's funeral.
Yeah.
Well, just in recent years, it's one of my... I would describe it as a sketch. There are certain scenes in Coronation Street that could have come out of a sketch show. I mean, the AA meeting is the most obvious example. But just having all of the other admirers of Lewis there, all the other women in the audience, is that the right word?
Congregation.
And then when the coffin's going down the conveyor belt and they all want to...
Make it sound like it's Yo Sushi.
It's like the Generation Game. and they're fighting over who's going to press the buttons or something, weren't they? It was very farcical, and I'm sure a lot of people thought it was ridiculous and disrespectful and just silly. But I did enjoy that because I loved Audrey, I love Claudia, I love Lewis Archer. After this, Audrey starts to think that Claudia had been secretly seeing Lewis because she thought that Claudia was a little bit too sad about the fact that he's dead, and so she thinks, well, maybe she was going out with Lewis, and then Claudia was the one to rob. What
are you talking about?
I think she thought that Claudia was involved in the money robbing, Archie's money.
I don't.
Audrey got robbed, didn't she, by Butterfly Batgirl?
Yeah.
And Audrey thought that Claudia and Lewis might have been working together for this. But
it was actually David and Butterfly Girl.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, there was another funny scene after Bertie's christening when Beth slags off Claudia over the baby monitor thing. Yeah. That was quite funny. And also that had a kind of a sad moment for Claudia because she'd been going out with Ken, and she gets quite upset when Ken publicly says, "Oh, we're just got a platonic relationship, we're just friends," and Claudia had kind of seen it as a little bit more than that. But then after they thrash things out a little bit, they decide to give things a proper go, and she moves in with him. She also pays for Peter to go to rehab.
Very expensive.
Yes. And had a little fight with the Baileys over the noise pollution from number 1. From number 3, I mean.
With Aggie and the boys.
Well, it was when
playing violin and blasting classic music.
That was funny. It was again. That was a bit silly. I thought the hole in the wall story. It was fine. When the Baileys look through the wall and find Claudia and Amy scraping away at the violins, that was quite funny. She also almost gets scammed by Imran last year, the dirty, rotten scoundrel, when he tries to buy her Redwater apartment off of her at a cut-down price because of the bail hostel, which is the weird story that
was so odd. There was supposed to be a bail hostel opening, and it never did. And Imran found out that it was cancelled and tried to buy Claudia's apartment that she's selling cheap. And then Toya found out, and she was like, "You can't do that tomorrow."
And then that was kind of left with Claudia, Toya and Imran, you're not suited. She's too good for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then they went.
And then that dangling thread was left and never really returned to.
Well, they obviously are good for each other because they share a love of aubergines.
And that's almost it for Claudia, apart from this whole Stillwater stuff, which seemed to come out of nowhere a little bit in the 10,000th episode this year, didn't it? One of the early scenes before they get on the coach is Claudia looking on the internet at this retirement place with Ken, and she's got her heart set on moving out because she's fed up of the hustle and bustle of modern life
of Weatherfield and its
and hairdressing
edge.
And she just wants to live it up and relax and do fencing and painting for the rest of her life.
Live in a room with panelled walls.
Yeah.
Which I would as well.
Don't we all want to end up that way?
Me, I do.
So it goes off there, and now she's stayed there because she thinks it's great, and Ken's like, nah. She's
like, well, I mean, I'm going to stay here now. The peanut bowls have gone. There's no reason for me to change anything.
We did get as well this year 1 or 2 brilliant scenes between her and between Claudia and Evelyn as well, didn't we? It's obviously Rula and blimey, what's her name? Maureen Lipman.
You're getting it off me.
They're very chummy, and they share a flat together, or they shared a flat together in Manchester. So it was nice to go see those scenes together where Claudia does Evelyn up for her date with Arthur.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that scene would be, the first of many, like blossoming of a new relationship and a friendship between two characters on the street, because of their chemistry off screen. It translated wonderfully to those scenes they had together. But alas, it almost feels now like it was we've got to have them have at least one scene together. Yeah, let's give them a scene where she does her hair. We'll cherish that one. So that is the end of Claudia, Gemma.
Oh goodness, I thought she was fabulous.
Do you think that she's going to become, one of the Corrie characters that's liked for the time they're in it, but are quickly forgotten about?
I don't know, because she's been in it. she was a bit in it on and off, wasn't she? And
She had two big stints.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nice surprise when she came back, because it had been so long since she'd been in it last. I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting her to come back again. And I think that if that first period that she'd been in it had been it,
might not have been so memorable.
No, I've just remembered, I don't think Honor Blackman did play Ruler. I think that might have been someone else that played
Ruler?
her. No, remember I said that Honor Blackman played a character called Ruler. It might have been somebody else that played her. It just popped into my brain. Sorry, continue.
I just
Maybe it
agree
was.
with everything you say.
Yeah. I hope that she'll be remembered, but what was it, 138, 139 episodes? It's not much, is it?
I don't know. I think because she's played by Rula Lenska, who's a bit of an icon in this country. I think it's more difficult to forget, and if she feels a bit more like an extended cameo.
Well, I was going to say, how much to you did the character feel like this is Claudia and not this is, guest starring Rula Lenska?
It just feels like it was Rula Lenska is Claudia Colby.
And the problem is, you don't really want that for soaps, do you?
I don't care. I love it.
Soaps are about looking on the lives of real northern folk, and you're supposed to forget about the actors and everything because we've seen these people grow up for the last 60 years odd. But for some reason I didn't particularly mind. But I know what you mean. I never forgot that she was Ruler, even though I didn't really know much about Rula Lenska before she even started on Coronation Street. I knew the name.
She's just a bit legendary, isn't she?
Yeah, she is a bit of a ledge. I wonder if she'd had the opportunity to be in the role for longer, I would have not seen her as being a guest.
I think it's great. It's one of the reasons I like her.
I suppose you could say the same thing about Nigel Havers, though, couldn't you?
Yeah. Yes, I felt the same way about him.
See, I don't know whether I did. I think I thought that Lewis was a bit more of a well-rounded character.
I feel the same way about Evelyn as well, to be frank. I do think that with those three in particular, because they were such big names and they're like household names in the UK, it does feel a bit like, we're so lucky to have them in the show. You know what I mean?
I felt the same with Keith Duffy when he was in it, when he was playing Kieran McCarthy. I never stopped thinking that this is Kieran, this is him off Boyzone in it.
I'll tell you what though, the person I felt the most privileged to watch in Coronation Street and really humbled as a viewer was Sarah Harding. I can't believe we got Sarah Harding.
Thought you were going to say something like, Michelle Collins or Kim Marsh there. I definitely, say what you like about Michelle, and we certainly did, but I did think that she did a good job of evolving from that girl out of Hearsay. Because when she came into it, I was like, what's she doing? She's just a pop star. She doesn't deserve to be on this programme. But I thought that even though I didn't like the character, I think that she definitely made the role her own. Kim did over the course of those years.
You've also missed off another really big name that I would say a vocal minority on Twitter never took to in the show, and that's Les Dennis, who came in.
That's very true, actually.
And sort of already had a big household name. And some people never got over. No,
whereas I did really, really quickly, because when it was announced that he was going to be on it, I remember being taken a bit back by this. I think I was willing to give it a chance, but it's like he's just a game show host, isn't he? But almost immediately, it was like, blimey, he's Michael Rothwell. He is.
He's really good. I love him so much.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say that means necessarily that Les Dennis is a better actor than Rula Lenska, just because I was still not able to forget that it was Ruler.
It's partly the role that they were given. Like, Les Dennis to me was given, as the role of Michael Rodwell, a permanent character's part that's like a normal character on Corrie, whereas Rula Lenska's Claudia Colby really was it's Rula Lenska in Coronation Street. Who would Rula Lenska be if she lived in Weatherfield? She would be Claudia Colby, owner of a chain of fabulous hair salons.
I wonder whether Roy Hudd was a little bit like that as well, and I don't know much about him pre-Coronation Street, but Archie Shuttleworth could well have been, a slight take on just what Roy was like in real life. But he was definitely Archie Shuttleworth before he was Roy Hudd to me, because I didn't particularly know him before. And another one who did a good job of getting away from the what's he doing on Coronation Street job was Shane Ward as well. And another one who came into it, it's like, he's got an X Factor winner on Coronation Street, but he certainly changed a lot of minds by the end of it.
It's quite interesting as well how many of these get killed off.
Yeah, very, very true, actually. So do you think there is going to be any future for Claudia? Do you think she'll even get talked about the same way that she was?
So, because I feel really shortchanged by her exit. I don't know if there were different plans or anything, but feels as though she kind of got rushed out. But then that's what they do, isn't it? With characters, when they're done with them, they sort of disappear into nothing.
Yeah, I mean, she was talked about in between her other stints because she was still the friend and rival of Audrey, and they still were able to meet up and all that. But I mean, I don't know whether I just missed it or whether it hasn't really been delved into much on the show. But what's going on with Claudia and her businesses that she owns? Because she does still co-own the salon with Maria. Is it? It's Claudia and Maria own the salon, and Audrey owns Trim Up North. It's ridiculous. They just need to do a swap. Have Audrey own Audrey's again, but because Maria doesn't even work in the salon, she works at. It's stupid.
It is.
It's very. So maybe this will be an opportunity, because I would have thought that Claudia doesn't want. I don't know. Will she just want the money? I mean, can she sell the perm suspect business to Maria or Audrey or something?
I don't know.
Because if you're living in Stillwaters, you don't need to have a hair
She
chain
still
anymore.
Gets income from owning it.
Maybe she does.
Pays for all those exorbitant peeing on the carpet fees that she doesn't have to worry about anymore. Actually,
that's true. That is absolutely true.
Although Norris is in charge now, so I can only assume that the amount of petty fines and stupid rules
only go up. I was a bit sad that we didn't get to see a final scene between her and Audrey in the end.
I know.
There was nothing, was there?
No.
If last Friday's was her final scene, a bit bizarre that it was her and Tracy that got to share the scene together. Because
also,
even the stuff with her and Ken was kind of nice. It dragged on a little bit, but it was quite bittersweet in a way. But it could have been a better ending for her than what she actually got. But seriously, we needed Claudia and Audia to have a scene together. They're owed it.
I know. Well, we can only assume she'll be back. I don't know.
I mean, she could come back for the odd cameo, couldn't she?
I think it'd be nice.
I think it'd be lovely, but
I'm sure Maureen would let her stay in her flat.
Yes, exactly.
She needs to pop up.
Exactly.
Do some filming.
So, Ken is now a free man once more.
Oh,
is he going to go back to Audrey?
Agent. Don't know. Is he going to find some more totty somewhere else?
Is he going to
go after Evelyn?
I kind of don't want him to.
No,
they had a go with him and Audrey and it didn't work out. They had a go with him and Claudia, and to me it didn't quite feel right.
Can't he try celibacy for a bit? The randy old bugger.
I think he might have to. I think he might just have to grow old gracefully and retire his pair of pulling pants.
We'll see.
We'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to get them back together, I'll say that. Maybe bring back Wendy Flame and Crozier again.
Why not?
Move in on that, or old Martha on the boat.
Oh yeah, Martha.
Once he gets his urge again. Right. Any other final words on Claudia before we finish?
No, but if we are going to bring another bit of Totty back for Ken, it has to be the Lummers. And
we have to get Joanna Lumley back.
Joanna Lumley needs to come back for the 60th anniversary, because she used to be one of Ken's girlfriends, and really you can see why William Roach has never left Coronation Street, because they keep giving him really hot birds to date on screen.
Yeah, he's probably just hanging on in there for them to bring back Joanna Lumley.
Yeah, it's probably in his contract somewhere.
We'll just have to wait and
we'll
see.
Have to see if they get the Lummers.
Won't we? Anyway, that's Claudia.
Yeah.
Miss her, now she's gone.
I know.
But enjoyed her while she lasted.
Yeah. Burned brightly. Like
indeed, yeah. Do write in and let us know if you've got any other final comments that you'd like to make about Claudia.
Yes.
Gemma, where can people write in?
You can email us at conversationstreet@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at conversationsdr. You can find us on Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah, but you can't contact us through Spotify or iTunes.
You can find us on Facebook, and we've also got a Facebook group that is quite fun to join if you would like to. And we're also on Patreon.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Thank
Hope
you
you enjoyed reliving some of Claudia's finest moments.
Yes.
We'll be back next week for more Conversation Street. So until then, ta-ra for now.
Goodbye.